Deep inside your body, at this very second, a microscopic cleanup crew is hard at work. This isn't just basic maintenance, it's a high-stake survival mechanism called autophagy. The word literally translates from Greek to self-eating, but don't let the name scare you. It is the body's ingenious way of recycling its own damaged components to create newer, healthier versions of themselves. Imagine your cells as a busy workshop that hasn't been cleaned in years. Piles of scrap metal, rusted tools, and broken machinery are taking up space, slowing down production and creating a fire hazard. Autophagy is the process of identifying that junk, breaking it down into raw materials, and using those materials to build state-of-the-art equipment. Today, we are peeling back the layers of metabolic science to understand how this process works, why it is essential for longevity, and the burning question everyone wants answered. Exactly how long do you need to stop eating before this biological superpower actually kicks into gear? We are moving beyond the surface-level trends to look at the cellular machinery that keeps us young, healthy, and resilient. To understand autophagy, we first have to understand the junk it clears out. Over time, our cells accumulate misfolded proteins and damaged organelles like mitochondria, the powerhouses of the cell. When these components break down, they don't just disappear, they linger, causing inflammation and oxidative stress. Think of it like a car engine that never gets an oil change. Eventually, the sludge builds up so much that the engine seizes. In the human body, this cellular sludge is linked to everything from accelerated aging to neurodegenerative diseases. This is where the lysosome comes in. The lysosome is essentially the cell's stomach, a small sac filled with powerful enzymes. During autophagy, a double membrane structure called an autophagosome forms around the cellular trash, traps it, and then fuses with the lysosome. The enzymes then dissolve the waste into its basic building blocks, amino acids and fatty acids, which are then released back into the cell to be used as fuel or parts for new structures. It is the ultimate form of biological upcycling, ensuring that nothing goes to waste and the system remains lean and efficient.
The primary regulator of this entire process is a protein complex called mTOR, or the mechanistic target of rapamycin. You can think of mTOR as a growth sensor for the cell. When nutrients are plentiful, specifically when you've just eaten carbohydrates or proteins, mTOR is activated. When mTOR is on, the cell is in growth mode. It's building new tissues, storing energy, and generally ignoring the trash pile in the corner. Growth is good, but constant growth without a cleanup phase is a recipe for disaster. To trigger autophagy, we need to turn mTOR off and activate its opposite, AMPK. AMPK is the energy sensor. It flips on when the cell is low on fuel. This metabolic switch is what tells the body that it's time to stop building and start recycling. This is the fundamental reason why fasting is so effective. It creates the precise nutrient-deprived environment needed to suppress mTOR and signal the cellular cleanup crew to start their shift. Without this period of scarcity, the cleanup never happens and the junk continues to pile up indefinitely.
So, how long does it take for the switch to flip? It's not like a light switch, it's more like a fading sunset. Most experts agree that for a healthy adult, autophagy begins to ramp up significantly between 16 and 24 hours of fasting. However, it's a spectrum. After your last meal, your body first burns through the glucose in your bloodstream. Once that's gone, it moves on to glycogen, stored sugar in your liver and muscles. This process usually takes about 12 to 14 hours. It is only when glycogen levels are significantly depleted that the body enters a deeper state of ketosis and begins to prioritize autophagy. By the 18-hour mark, researchers have observed a noticeable increase in intracellular recycling markers. By 24 hours, the process is usually in full swing. This is why the one meal a day or OMAD approach is so popular among longevity enthusiasts. It pushes the body right into that sweet spot where autophagy is highly active for several hours before the next meal resets the clock.
If you push past the 24-hour mark, something even more profound begins to happen. Studies in both animals and humans suggest that autophagy reaches its peak intensity somewhere between 48 and 72 hours of total calorie deprivation. During this extended window, the body isn't just cleaning up small proteins, it's engaging in selective mitophagy, the targeted destruction of old, inefficient mitochondria. This is crucial because leaky mitochondria are a primary source of the free radicals that damage our DNA. By clearing them out and replacing them with vibrant, high-output mitochondria, you essentially upgrade your body's energy grid. Furthermore, extended fasting triggers a drop in insulin-like growth factor 1, or IGF-1, which is a key signal for cellular regeneration. While a 24-hour fast is great for maintenance, these multi-day stretches are seen by many as a deep clean that can reset the immune system and drastically reduce systemic inflammation. It is a powerful tool, but one that requires careful management and respect for the body's limits.
It is important to remember that autophagy isn't an all-or-nothing state. Your body is always doing a baseline level of recycling, otherwise you wouldn't survive. What we are doing with fasting is upregulating or accelerating that process. There are also ways to nudge autophagy along even if you aren't doing a 72-hour fast. High-intensity interval training, or HIIT, and resistance training both create cellular stress that can trigger a similar recycling response. When you push your muscles to the limit, you create microdamage that the body must repair using autophagic pathways. Similarly, certain compounds found in nature, like resveratrol from grapes, spermidine from wheat germ, and EGCG from green tea, have been shown to mimic some of the effects of fasting by inhibiting mTOR or activating AMPK. While these fasting mimetics aren't a replacement for the real thing, they can complement a healthy lifestyle and help maintain cellular fluidity during the hours when you are eating.
What actually breaks autophagy? This is a point of much debate, but the science is fairly clear. Anything that triggers an insulin spike or provides significant amino acids will halt the process. Even a small amount of cream in your coffee or a handful of nuts can be enough to signal to mTOR that the famine is over and growth should resume. Protein, specifically the amino acid leucine, is a particularly potent inhibitor of autophagy because it is the primary signal for muscle protein synthesis. If your goal is the absolute maximum level of cellular cleanup, a water-only fast is the gold standard. However, some researchers argue that fat fasting, consuming pure fats like MCT oil or butter, might allow for a partial continuation of autophagy because fat has a negligible impact on insulin levels. While this might make the fast easier to endure, it likely blunts the full effects. For those seeking the therapeutic benefits of autophagy, the general rule is if it has calories, it probably resets the clock. We also need to talk about the role of sleep. Autophagy isn't just about what you eat, it's about when you sleep. Our bodies operate on a circadian rhythm, and research has shown that autophagic activity naturally peaks during the night. Melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep, also appears to play a role in stimulating the cleanup of neural tissues. This is why a poor night's sleep often leaves you feeling foggy. Your brain literally didn't have enough time to finish its nightly housekeeping. Combining an early dinner with a full night of rest creates a powerful synergy. By the time you wake up, you've already completed 12 to 14 hours of fasting, and your body has been performing high-level maintenance while you were unconscious. This circadian fasting is perhaps the most sustainable way to integrate autophagy into your daily life without having to undergo grueling multi-day fasts every week.
Is there such a thing as too much autophagy? In a word, yes. Like all biological processes, it's about balance, a concept known as hormesis. Hormesis is the idea that a small amount of stress makes the system stronger, but too much stress causes it to break. If you were to stay in a state of high autophagy indefinitely, your body would eventually move past recycling waste and start breaking down essential structures, including muscle tissue and vital organs. This is the physiological state of starvation. The goal is to cycle between periods of breakdown, fasting, and refeeding. This cycle is what leads to true health. When you break a fast, you provide the raw materials that the body needs to rebuild those newly cleaned cells. Without the refeeding phase, you never get the new parts. You just end up with a smaller, weaker version of the old system. The magic happens in the transition, the rhythmic dance between the feast and the famine. While the science is promising, we must acknowledge that most of our data comes from yeast, worms, flies, and rodents. Human studies are more difficult to conduct because you can't easily take biopsies of someone's liver or brain every hour to check their autophagosome count. However, the indirect evidence is overwhelming. We see improvements in insulin sensitivity, reductions in inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein, and better cardiovascular health in those who practice regular intermittent fasting. We also know that many of the longest-lived populations on Earth, the blue zones, often have cultural or religious traditions that involve periods of caloric restriction. Whether they called it autophagy or not, they were tapping into a fundamental biological truth, that the human body was never designed to be in a constant state of digestion. Our ancestors evolved in an environment of scarcity, and our genes are hardwired to thrive when we occasionally give our digestive systems a rest. If you are looking to start your own journey with autophagy, the best approach is a gradual one. Don't jump into a 3-day fast if you've never missed a meal in your life. Start with a 12-hour window. Simply stop eating after dinner and don't eat until breakfast. Once that feels natural, push it to 14, then 16 hours. Pay attention to how your body feels. For many, the brain fog clears and energy levels stabilize once the body becomes metabolically flexible, able to switch easily between burning sugar and burning fat. Remember to stay hydrated and keep your electrolytes up, as fasting causes the kidneys to excrete sodium more quickly. Listen to your body's signals. True hunger is different from the habitual appetite we feel at noon every day. By mastering this window, you aren't just losing weight, you are performing deep-level maintenance on the very building blocks of your life. In the end, autophagy is a reminder of the incredible resilience and intelligence of the human body. We don't always need to add more supplements, more superfoods, or more prescriptions to be healthy. Sometimes the best thing we can do for our health is to simply get out of the body's way. By providing periods of stillness and scarcity, we allow ourselves to perform the miraculous work they were designed to do. We clear the path for longevity, mental clarity, and physical vitality. Whether you choose to fast for 16 hours or 60, you are participating in an ancient biological ritual that renews you from the inside out. As you move forward, think of fasting not as a deprivation, but as an investment in your future self. Your cells have the blueprints for health. All they need from you is the time and the environment to follow them. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the science of cellular renewal.